Hey everyone, super excited to bring you another incredible training from our Friday Connect training series. For those of you that are new to the channel, we host these every single Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, completely for free. Now, if you're interested in joining one of these calls, just click the link that's in the top of the description. It's also in the pinned comment. That'll take you over to our Facebook group where you can see all the upcoming calls, all the upcoming topics, and even leave some suggestions for something you want to see us cover in the future. With all that being said, let's just get right into the training.
So today we're going to talk about follow-up strategy. We're going to talk specifically about conversion, but on autopilot. I'm going to give you a ton of ideas and strategies that you can implement in your business in terms of automating them and saving you a ton of time so that you're really 10xing your business with the little amount of effort that you're going to be making. So the agenda for today is what you're going to learn is I'm going to share with you the difference between lead follow-up and lead generation. And often people don't have a lot of ideas as to what the differences are, and especially if you don't have a marketing background, and a lot of real estate agents we don't. So I want to be able to give you a lot of information as to why you need to follow up, types of follow up, and things you need to do before you follow up. And then I'm going to give you some nurturing strategies and tactics that you can do as your way of following up, and some best practices that you want to keep in mind as well. And again, as I go throughout this, you might have some questions. Make sure you leave it in the chat box, and we'll definitely get to you at the end in the Q&A portion of it. And I wanted to give you, I know Kyle did a wonderful job of doing an introduction, so I'll keep it super brief. I worked in marketing. I was a marketer before I became a realtor, and this is what I did. I used to write over 200 marketing plans a year. I managed over 12 social media accounts every single day for the government. This is where I come from. This is my space. So I've done a lot of things at the same time, and my way of doing a lot of strategic things, but also completing and getting them done, it's all about prioritization, time management, putting systems and process in place. So a lot of that knowledge kind of came into my real estate space. And check out my recent video on my YouTube channel too, where I talk about some time management secrets, which will kind of help you see this on a bigger picture and kind of driving home the idea of automation and saving you time. To me, I'm obsessed with time than money. A lot of people are obsessed with making that income. I'm obsessed with saving time so that I can do more. And so just to give you a little bit of background of the type of work that I do, my husband and I, you'll see us on a lot of our marketing, that TNR is my husband and I. We're a team, and we primarily focus on real estate investors. And I'm also, I'm in the real estate space working with realtors. I have a team of 37 agents around the world, and I help with their marketing. I help with improving their business and growing them. And I have weekly mastermind calls, and Kyle will explain a lot of that at the end of our presentation as well. So the answers will be given to those who are bold enough to ask. So what I mean by that is 80% of all sales require minimum five follow-up to close after the initial contact. And the crazy part is only 44% of salespeople, they actually give up after their first initial contact, and which is why 8% of salespeople are actually scoring that 80% of the leads. They're the one who's making deals. So we're pretty much, without following up after our first contact, we're just giving away our deals to all the top producers, the people that are making the money. Why do you think if you ever go on social media and you see the same top producer always listing and always showing properties and selling, and you're like, where are my deals? It's because you have the information, you have all the people in your database, you're just not following up. As simple as that. So what's the difference between a lead follow-up versus a lead generation? So the difference between them is a lead follow-up, it involves people that you've already potentially connected with. So you have to continue to connect with these people you probably have more than one initial, contact with, and they're not so much of a cold lead, they're a warm or hot potential lead. Where a lead generation involves the type of people who you might have had prior to very minimal or no contact with, and they're somewhat new to your database, and they could be potentially called called cold, and that's the difference. So people who you've either never been in contact with versus people you might have been in contact with once. And what are some types of follow-up? So there are touch points that you can have. There's so many different types. You can do face-to-face, and there are, pros and cons to everything, right? Face-to-face, it takes a lot of effort, right? It takes a lot of time, but it works a lot better because you could see their people's tone. You could see if they're really, you can feel their motivation, if they're ready to make a move. You can see their body language a little bit. They can build more of a no trust factor with you a little bit more quicker face-to-face, but it costs you a lot, right? In terms of time, effort to get in front of that person. A phone call is similar. It doesn't cost you as much, but it doesn't have the cons is that it doesn't have that energy transfer in terms of having to look at them face to face, but you do hear their voice and their tone, which is great. And you might have a little bit more time with them. And but capturing them, right? Catching them at the right time. Phone calls are really hard these days because everyone has a lot of things to do. And then SMS text messaging is another great way for follow-up. And the other is social media messaging, actually, liking people's posts, commenting, direct messaging is another form of follow-up too. And direct mail, sending them something in the mail, maybe a written letter, maybe a magnet, maybe, leaving a door knocker on their, a door handle. Those are all types of follow-up, but it's really about, taking that to the next step. How do you follow up? When do you follow up? So and there are pros and cons to all of this. And how do you integrate this into your weekly, monthly plan? I'm going to give you some strategies that you want to keep in mind, some big picture idea that is instrumental in making your follow-up, really work is you have to have the context, right? You need to add the context, whether where are these people coming from? How are you building your database? So that lead generation is key, because it's like that chicken or the egg, right? How do you do the work without having the leads first? So make sure you automatically, and the best part is if you have a system in place to automatically generating leads, like Kyle has a great system. He has Facebook ads running. They're connected to his CRM. He doesn't touch anything and they're just running naturally. And all he does is every week goes and checks his Facebook ads to make sure that they're actually working. He optimizes them. And, in his videos, you can see on our YouTube channel, he talks about how to test his Facebook ads. So that's one way of Kyle generating leads, right? Automatically too. He's not every day, door knocking, cold calling, which you can do as well, but it's costing you time and energy, right? So you can't put it towards other efforts in your world. So that's one thing. And the other aspect to the lead generation, which is leading to the follow-up aspect, is sometimes people don't have accurate information. How do you actually ensure that they received your information? Did they actually receive that email that you sent them? It's very important that you have a system in place that validates each of your leads, making sure that they're the accurate information in, so the right people are getting information. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I run ads, I get people in their, pizza numbers, right? I mentioned it to you guys. So it's why, making sure that you have a CRM or some sort of a tool that tells you, hey, this number is not accurate, or is this the right person that you're trying to contact? Or it gives you what these lead validation. I'm going to show you an example of this in a second, because I'm going to leave my presentation and show you an example of a system that I have in place, and how you can get access to something like this as well. It'll show you it has these bugs that crawl the internet, and it follows any public accessible links out that are connected to these emails and phone numbers, and tells you, hey, actually this person is real. They have an account on LinkedIn and they work here. Isn't that amazing? So it tells you, oh, my lead is a real person. And it'll gives you some sort of a confirmation that the right person is going to get you information. So it's important that they receive it, right? Your follow-up. And making sure that your database, so now that you have leads that are coming in automatically, now that they're validated, which is great, they're accurate, but what if they're all sorts of audience type, right? Some of them are buyers, some of them are sellers. What if they're renters? You're not going to send investment 5 ways to cash flow to a tenant, right? So to someone who's going to lease. So what if somebody who's ready to buy, but they never owned a property before? What if you send them the wrong information, like 5 things to prepare your home for sale? You're going to lose them, right? You're not connecting with them. You want to be able to relate to them. So make sure your database is categorized. I know some people would say, you can send it to everybody and maybe somebody might, be a buyer eventually. But personally, to me, one of the most important things about marketing is ensuring your database is as organized as possible. You have some sort of a naming conventions, whether it's using hashtag, again, use the technology that's available to you. However, it enables to categorize, Google or Gmails has those labels where, in my CRM, I have hashtags. So figure out different ways to group your audience types. And it's very important for me. My husband and I, we work with buyers, sellers. Yes, they're my secondary audience, but my primary audience are investors. So they have a very particular hashtag, and it tells you where they're coming from. So there's a hashtag for what event they were at, where we met them from. Very important. And the reason why you want to do this, and it's actually one of the most important things about any marketing, is understanding who is in your database so that you're able to communicate with them better. The other thing, this is huge, and a lot of CRMs and tools don't have this, so make sure you have this, where your system can automatically keep an eye on the behaviors of your lead, and it can automatically communicate for them so you don't have to. So it's actually tracking, oh, Kyle, he came back to the database looking at properties in 14 days. He's come back in 3 months from now, because guess what? Someone who might be looking at a property now might make a move 6, 7, 8 months from now. I don't know about you, but sometime I had a buyer who was looking to move, ready for September, so that they can move into the area where their children are going to school. But they ended up in my database, I think, in December the year before. Does that make sense? Because they started to look where they're going to find a property. Is it near school? So make sure that your system is built and is ready to do that work for you, and know and can automatically track when a lead has certain behaviors or if their status change, things like that. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second too. And the last thing is one of the really major component to this is, and one aspects of a nurturing strategy, smart campaigns. And this is, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of something called drip campaigns. In a marketing world, they're pretty much I actually have a video coming out on this on YouTube. I have a whole series on this, so make sure you stay tuned on that. Drip campaigns are pretty much communication strategies where they're often pre-written messages, and they can take a form of phone call, text message, whatever it may be, and they're automated usually, and they're on a sequence. They can be 100 days, 20 days, 700 days, and it's nurturing them automatically for you. And it's like a workflow that is put together, and they are customizable. But there's a lot of systems that have default ones that are made by marketing professionals where you can take advantage of, so that nurturing can be done through these drips, whereas dripping them these information, and some of them are triggered by a certain behavior and super smart. And that's why I put that word in there, smart campaigns. So they're not, a series that aren't, just sending out emails and we don't care what they are. No, but some are phone calls, some are emails, some are, they're communicating them in a different way. And the reason why that is, I don't know about you, but I check my phone, my text messages far more quickly than I do my emails. Does it make sense? Because I'm that kind of person, where you might be someone who's always in your emails, because we're different types of people. Everyone communicates differently, and there's different method, because a message that is not delivered or received it doesn't work for us, right? Follow-up is all about ensuring that they receive that message. So this is where we're getting into some exciting stuff. If you haven't been taking notes, which I highly doubt you have, this is a great time to take a picture of the screen, is some nurturing strategy. So how does that follow-up work? How do you automate them is one thing, which I'm going to show you some examples of some tools that we have. Couple of follow-ups that you can do. Search alerts. You can automate search alerts. And if I were you guys, I love doing this. I put a search alert on everybody in my database, even people who never said that I want a search alert, but I'm very cognizant of how I do the search alert, frequency, what they get, very important, because you can lose them, they can unsubscribe. But search alerts are very important because it also serves as a lead magnet. And smart campaigns, like I mentioned, those drip campaigns are super awesome because they're automated. They connect with your lead for you. You pretty much, I sign into my CRM a couple of times a day because CRM is a backbone of my business. It is, all of my business is really powered through my CRM, but I'm not in there messaging and typing messages to every single person in my database. Make sense? The other thing you can do, birthdays and anniversaries, you could automate that every single person. Obviously, this works even better with people you've had contact with, right? People you've done showings with, maybe people you've done a deal with is even better, because I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this, but every lead, every customer, a client, not a lead, a client, people you've closed a deal with, there's 7 other referrals they can put you in touch with in their lifetime. That's like an average thing that you want to keep in mind. So make sure you're staying in top of mind by, doing birthdays, anniversaries, and you can automate that if you had a right system for it. The other is scheduled mass emails. You can send a mass marketing email because, when you go on Gmail or Hotmail, any one of those, and you send one-on-one emails, that is in marketing. That's just one-on-one communication. It'll take you forever if you did that in your database. And so one of the things you want to do is schedule mass emails, and you can send them to a particular, remember we talked about that categorization, a hashtag. So you can send it directly to the people that needs to receive it. For example, my husband and I, we send out emails weekly. Sometimes our emails take a form of this market report, which we send out once a month when, the information comes from our MLS, which usually the first week of the month. for the prior month that we send it, we get it ready, we send it the second week. The other thing that we do is every week we have 2 videos that come out on because I actually have 3 channels, one with Kyle, one for myself, one with YouTube channels, one with my husband and I. The one with my husband and I are for investors. If you ever want to check it out, you can just put in, my name and it'll come up. And that one is, you could see even in my description, I have, different links in there that all goes to my CRM. You see, everything is automated. I'm generating leads, automating them. And also at the same time, the moment they come in, I have a drip that is triggered by this hashtag that I don't have to do anything. Does that make sense? So the emails are very similar. So my husband and I, once a month, we schedule 4 emails a week, and it does it for me. So a couple of emails that recently just went out is whenever we have access to deals. One of the things about investors is that we do investing a little bit differently. We don't just sell properties to investors. We partner with investors to buy properties together. So we do joint venturing because we're looking to, grow our net worth too. And we're investors as well. So that's one of our selling point is that we kind of coach them through buying properties. And one of the things that we do is send deals, any off-market deals as well. So it feels kind of like, that's something important that they want to have access to. So I'll show you an example of that in a second. And we give them a cash flow, etc. And then some weeks we send them YouTube videos, like I mentioned. So any of the 2 videos that come out, whichever seems like the one that is the most exciting, we send it out to them. So what that's doing is bringing them back to one of my long form content, which is YouTube, which has a lot of content in, a lot of value, right? And which I'm going to get to value in a second, because this way they're going to get to know me. They're going to like me and eventually start to work with me. And they're going to build that trust factor through credible information, because they're going to be like, wow, these 2 people know what they're talking about. Wow, they've done these deals. They showed me property tours of their property. They're showing me, the way they work with their other partners. Wow, this is a person I want to trust and maybe potentially buy a property with. The other thing that I love is, this is like a kind of a hidden gem. This one and the text one, voicemail drop. This is an amazing nurturing strategy. I actually never use a voicemail drop on a new lead. I only use it on someone who I've had a 1 or 2 touch point with. So a voicemail drop, for those of you that don't know, and I hope your system have this, our CRM has this, and it's super awesome. You can buy for like $20, 150 voicemail drops. And what this does, and again, I only send it to people that are very highly chosen people, because I have a pre-recorded message and you could personalize them. There are a lot of strategies around how to record messages. I have YouTube videos on that, so go check those out. And these voicemail drops are very unique. They're voicemails that get into your phone, into your inbox voicemail without triggering a phone call. Isn't that crazy? Super cool, right? So this way you don't have to sit there dial. You just pre-record it on your phone, on your computer, drag an MP4 file into the system, and you could click who you want to send it to, and voila, it sends it. So I'll give you an example. Kyle has he's a pre-construction specialist guy. So he gets a ton of pre-construction deals, like almost like a couple of times a week. I'm seeing different, properties he's posting, right? He's a great example of someone who is targeting people, potential investors, potential people that are looking for pre-construction property. He can throw in a voicemail drop saying, hey guys, I have an exclusive property that this is going to sell fast. I have, price list, floor plans ready to go. If you want to get access, just shoot me a message, one of many people to, very only handful of people to have access to this property, highly sought out. Here are a couple of things you want to know about it. Send it to me, send me a message. And there are a lot of different messages you can do to get that reply back. And you want to keep it short, 20 seconds or less. So that's another form of nurturing. The other is text messaging. You can do mass text. Text is awesome because you can really, write one sentence that can make a form of urgency. A great example is a pre-construction, right? Hey, this property hit the market, is selling fast. These properties, I have X amount that comes with incentives. Some of the properties that I've seen that Kyle posts have, $50,000, $20,000 incentives. Some have like for a full year, you don't have to pay maintenance. So those are some really interesting information people like to know, right? Anything where they can save them money, right? That is something you could throw it in your text message and say, hey, if you want to have access, please send me a DM back, give me a call, whatever, right? So that's a great ways to leverage text message. Again, it's a nurturing, right? Follow up. The other is direct links to MLS listings. So I'm a big proponent of this. If you've ever watched any of my trainings before, I always tell you that, send people directly to properties. now more than ever. And that's why I have search alerts on everybody. And the reason is media is doing a great job of painting a picture that prices are dipping, the market is crashing, there's lots of inventory, and that isn't really the case, right? We know that the market is slowing down, of course. I don't know about what market you're in. We're in a market where it's slowing down, it's competitive, prices are still, they're not decreasing that much. Things are still expensive. And I want to paint a clear picture. I got a phone call from somebody a couple of months ago saying, hey, I heard on the media that houses are discounted. And I'm like, where? I want to know, right? So because these are false information, this is why it's a unique time for us real estate agents to rise up, use data, and become informed and inform others as well in the process. And this is going to allow us to be knowledge holders, authority, and create that trust and trust factor with people. So it's really important that you take advantage of sending people to properties, because you're going to be the one to show people, here's how much the properties are, here's what they're going for, and tell them what's true, what's out there, right? It's like going to a mall sometime, you went in there to do something, I don't know, maybe, go to the pharmacy or something, but you walk out with a purse. But you had one intention, because the Kate Spade, whatever you want to call it, Coach, they've done a great job of doing a window selling, might have brought you in and showed you directly to the product that you don't want or need at the moment, but you kind of did anyway because they were convenient and they showed it to you at the right time when you were there, right? So it's very much like that. If you send the listing to the right time when they might be thinking of buying, and if you send them directly to the product, which is in our service, we're in the service of selling properties, then you might be able to get them to react in some ways, whether it's replying back to you saying, hey, how much more do you think I can get this for? How much less? Or whatever, right? That conversation. The other follow-up is behavioral automation, where you can have a system in place, like which I'm going to show you in a second. It's, keeping a track of the behaviors and automatically responds for you. So that's a great follow-up strategy. So I hope that was, to just lightly touching, so many things you can do. And I scratched the surface. And I know Kyle, he sees me do these training on a weekly basis. There's so many things you can do, giveaways, like I can go on forever, guys. Like this is just, I'm trying to keep this not to overwhelm you, but somewhere to get started. And a lot of what I showed you just recently, all of this can be automated. That's a crazy part. And you don't have to be in front of the computer to do it. And a lot of my work is automated. So are you ready? So some of the things is some best practices for lead nurturing and following up. If you don't have any of these, you're not going to have a proper follow-up. So have access to the right tools. A lot of what I just showed you is because I have a smart CRM that this is the work for me. And I even have a video on this on YouTube about what makes a smart CRM. So go watch that, because you might be thinking that, I have a smart CRM. It does a lot of cool things. It's super integrated, but it might not be doing what you think it needs. Because if it's not integrated, because if you're putting out marketing, and if people aren't automatically coming into your CRM, then it's not a smart CRM. Makes sense? That's just one example of many. And showing you exactly where people are coming from, source. Because if you don't know where you're marketing and what's working, then you can really, right? You don't have the right tools to find out what more of where I want to put my effort. Makes sense? Time blocked for follow-up. Make sure, I don't know if you've ever seen my schedule. I'm happy to show it to you after. It has everything in it. Like you saw my pop-up. I don't know if you saw that. Lunch and meditation, because usually at 12 o'clock, that's when I take my lunch and I meditate. And everything is in my calendar. So your follow-up you should have an allocated time for follow-up, because once a month we call everyone in our database, my husband and I, and we don't call everyone, because some people we would call today, let's say today is my follow-up phone call day. They might tell me, call me back in 3 months, because I asked some key questions that's going to give me some information, and they're going to be a reminder that they're going to tell me, call me back in 3 months. Well, I'm going to call them in 2 months, but there's going to be a task in my CRM that tells me to call such and such lead back in 2 months. So I won't call her next month, right? I'll call her the month after. So that's to give you an idea of what that follow-up is like. Get ready and start thinking about having scripts and pre-written messages. How do you want to approach these conversations? How could I automate them? How does my lead? A lot of time people think like, if I'm a person, how would I like to be spoken to? Remember, you're not the buyer, you're not the lead. Think about your audience and how they would like to be spoken to. Very different. And lead with value. Anytime you give accurate, credible information, always back up your information with source. For example, that data that I showed you earlier, when you guys, that only 44% of people actually ever make it past that follow-up stage, that's actually from Propeller. It's a big, well-known CRM. That number came from them. So very important where you're getting this information, you're not just making things up, right? And leading with value. So YouTube videos are a great way. You can give them a lot of value, market reports. So think about different ways, sending them, to squeeze pages, to properties, to sold properties, finding different ways of information that they want to get as well, not what you want to give them, what they're looking for. Respond quickly. A lot of the time, a lot of us take on real estate and we end up not figuring out how to actually do it, and then we end up filling it with other things in our life, and then we follow up evening at 8 o'clock when another agent would have gotten to them before then, because sometimes people want immediate answers. And if you can solve that leads problem through the information, through that follow-up, bingo. So for example, if somebody says, I want a pre-construction property in Burlington, Ontario, and I just want to know how much they're going for, and what if Kyle comes up and then says, here, I have a price plan right here. And actually, one more thing, I'll do you a favor, here's some incentives. He's going to close that deal every time. And then the other is personalizing your communication so that you can be a real person, right? Remember, all of these automation, they don't know that I'm not sitting in front of the computer. They think they're talking to me and my husband. But the funny thing is they're talking to a machine, right? So make it as humanly as possible. It mirrors your online presence, your offline behavior, they're all mirrored. So make sure that that is very important, and continue to follow up. 5 is the minimum, it's what they say, the average follow up. Sometimes we had Shane Carvello, one of the top producers in California, come in one of our calls. He's one of the luxury agents in Santa Cruz area. And he mentioned, they do minimum 7 follow up for a cold call. So again, and sometimes actually 7 to 15, he said it takes. So really depends on, learn your database and start follow up until somebody says, leave me alone. And they, don't go to a part where they have to use profanity, but, up to a point where they're like, okay, we're done. We're not going to work, and maybe ask them, do you mind if I get back to you in 6 months? A lot of times, I don't know. And Kyle, he comes from a cold calling world, but he'll always tell us, sometimes he gets cold calls and he'll, object them and say, I'm not interested. And a lot of time people give up. They're like, okay, bye. When they could have easily asked Kyle, what about this? Is that you're not liking any question they could have asked it, remain on the phone call where Kyle could have entertained them and actually continue the conversation. But so figure out a ways to entertain that conversation, keep them interested. So a couple of things that I want to kind of wrap up this with is apps and tools that are for efficiencies. This is just bonus that I just want to share with you. Make sure, again, leverage your MLS system, your license, your board, everything's in your phone. Make sure that you have access to them. These are things that makes you efficient. Anytime you want to go look for information, guys, they're all done for you. These are people that are recording. They're keeping a track of the market in real time. Use that information. You don't have to go invent anything. You don't have to Google a news article. Use your real estate board's information. Google Drive, Dropbox. I have all of this in there. So anytime an idea comes, I throw it in video. So keep thinking about, how you can give information to them. I always use my Google Keep as a note taker because so many ideas come to me and I always put everything in there. CRM, I use KV Core, which I'm going to show you in a second what it looks like and some of the automation that I have in place. And you can use that. And the other thing is Asana, Trello, Mondays, there are project management tasks. These are tools that help you kind of do the work for you. So you don't have to remember a lot of things and write everything in 20 different places, but they also go with you, right? Let's say, because we're real estate agents, we're always on the road, and I can pull something up in real time somewhere on my to-do list, so I don't have to be always in front of my computer, in front of my written calendar. Social media schedule, which I'll show you in a second. So our social media is also our follow-up, right? And it's all scheduled. All of my accounts, I have, oh my goodness, like 9 of my accounts. I have, everything from Google My Business, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and to LinkedIn, my personal is my business, everything. They're all going through Buffer. Same post, get blasted through everywhere. And so automate as much as you can. And if you can't automate through your CRM, you can use programs like Zapier to do that for you. So everything counts, guys. Like the great Brian Tracy said, he's a business coach and author, a marketing expert. He said, everything that you do either creates or builds your brand, or it weakens or destroys your brand. So be really thoughtful when you're about to post a message. Think about, Does this serve me? Is this my brand? And if it's not, delete it. And so just wanted to wrap this up, and I'll dive into this later in a second. Like Kyle will show them to you as well. We have access to, so I have a KV Core course, a marketing course that I have access to, which you guys will get for free when you partner with us. And this is just a tip of the iceberg of some of the work that we do here in our group. You could also check out Groovy's, our platform. If you're not in our brokerage, or if you're outside of our group, you can leverage something called Groovy. This is, all of our agents get Groovy for free. This is social media on autopilot. We do the social media for you. It's done strategy. It's not just templates, which is what's unique about this. Because remember, I used to write social media every single day. So I do this for my agents on an automatic basis. They're all automated. I don't even write them anymore. There's 365 days of content. It gets sent to you every single day what you need to post. So if you don't know something, instead of hiring someone to do it, this is $49 a month. It's cheaper than paying somebody, $20 an hour to come up with your social media content, which is a template anyway, where there might not be marketing professionals. So be careful where you purchase content from. So check out tools like that. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is, again, connect with me, and join my my Instagram page, because I post a lot of content on there about what's being released. My YouTube channel, check out my YouTube channel, ton of content on there, and I'm always posting twice a week, so make sure you're connected there. And I'll take questions, guys. And actually, before I take questions, I'll quickly show you KV Core so that I can really give you a full picture of what this automation looks like. Though this is the back end of our CRM. So this CRM, and make sure while I'm going through this, in your mind, think of, does my CRM do this? And if it doesn't, you might want to look into a CRM that does. So, and we get this for free at our brokerage, by the way. So that's a huge part. This is a #1 rated real estate technology. Look at this. So on the right-hand menu, you go to marketing, there's a smart CRM, already pre-built default campaigns. You can go build your own. And I'm in the process of creating one right now, a couple of different ones actually, and I'll be releasing them very soon. So stay tuned on my Instagram for that, and YouTube. And there are default campaigns. I edit them. You can, have templates, and you could do all sorts of templates, as you can see, text, message, call, and they're all automated. I'll give you an example. So let's go to this is for a buyer. You see, very particular, targeted to an audience type. This goes all the way to, wow, look at 700 days it nurtures them. Unreal, right? So if somebody isn't ready to buy a property yet, but they might be in a year from now, you got them. So here, that's a great example of an automation. Here's another one. I'll show you that behavioral automation we talked about. Look at this. If a lead revisits after 14 days, it's going to send them a message. Right? Watch. Isn't that amazing? If a lead visits the site, my website, after 5 times in the last week, it's going to do this. So all of this is automated, and it should be. So anytime someone favorites a property, sends them a message saying, hey, do you want to see it? Does that make sense? So it, based off of their behaviors, is automating them. And I can choose which one I want to go to, because each of my database is organized according to their status, but it's also organized according to who they are. And I'll give you an example. So I know this looks super overwhelming, but it looks intricate, but it's really, really easy system. Because of the privacy of the people in my database, I created one for myself to show you, and I use this for all my training. Here are some sample hashtags. So, you can categorize them. Like for me, they came from my website. I put my name, if they're a seller, if they're a buyer. So I know if I were to do a campaign, I could send them directly to who they are. Remember that lead validation I showed you? This is where it is. Look at this. You can come here and see, run it. It'll run a lead validation. Like I said, that little bugs going to crawls the internet and pulls information and says, whoa, this person is real. Look at her Twitter account, look at her LinkedIn account, because I have everything's public, right? Isn't that cool? And then you can also show you this really cool. You can also put birthdays and anniversaries in there, so that automatically sends them a birthday card, anniversary card. So if you're curious about this, if you have a CRM that you use, if you're not using a CRM, get on that. And Kyle knows more about the South Africa agents. I know there are people from South Africa who doesn't have access to KV Core, but you guys have an amazing CRM as well. And Kyle knows more about it because he has a team in South Africa. So make sure you connect with him about it there. And if you guys go to my website, which is tavaresrajasingham.ca, which was on all my slides, and right when you go, you'll see right at the top, it's free. It's a masterclass. I do show you a training about a CRM, and I walk you through some aspects of KV Core. Watch it only to see if your CRM measures up. One, do you have the right tools? Even if you don't even use a CRM, you need to start using it today, because your CRM isn't just an area where it keeps all of your listed contacts, right? It is the backbone of your business. It's contacting for you, it's communicating for you. You can assign a lead to one of your team members if you have a team or agents in your group, like I do. You can have so many things. Obviously, you could track things for you, could tell you what to do, like task management, so on and so forth. And it's my website too, right, guys? So remember, my website here, when buyers and sellers go, they click on it, they go straight directly to my MLS. And this is where KV Core knows in real time if I were to start looking at properties. And I'm not going to show it to you right now, but I'll give you a, remember I told you that the CRM could track what you're watching? Look at this. So in real time, in real time, it'll tell you, look, I opened an email. Look, I viewed it at what time. This is insider information. Because why? Because now you know, wow, I noticed my lead keeps opening my email, but they're not responding to me, because they might have a full-time job and they come in at 10 p.m. at night after the children has gone to sleep. And you're sending them a message at 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. when you're awake as a real estate agent, but they're at work. So you need to send it to them when they're in front of their computer. Makes sense? Super insider information. You can see what properties they looked at. I hope I looked at something so I can show you. Yeah, like, look, what properties I looked at, exactly at what time. Isn't that amazing? When? So I know if my interests change, if somebody tells me that I want to move to Richmond Hill and all of a sudden it moves to Scarborough. If you guys live in Ontario, you know the difference, right? Very different area. So you know, okay, clearly something changed. Why are they looking in Scarborough and not in Richmond Hill anymore? Did their price change? Are they looking for a different type of homes? Anyways, I know that's a ton of information. I hope I did not overwhelm you. I always tend to lead with above and beyond, you know, what I like to lead with. But let's get into question, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something useful. If you're interested in partnering with our record-breaking organization, the Wolfpack, here at eXp Realty, completely for free, just click the link that's in the pinned comment. We can set up a time to talk, and we can see whether or not we'd be a good fit for each other. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, click the like button down below, and make sure to subscribe. We're going to be posting videos like this on the channel every single week. And be sure to join the Facebook page. The link is in the top of the description. It's also in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.